Welcome back. Welcome in. It's Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com. This is a Paramount podcast. I'm Mike Casazza here on a Monday morning to dig into the mailbag, answer some questions, and try not to give you that deja vu feeling because Chris Anderson, is there an echo in the mailbag? It just seems like these questions are somewhat similar one week after another now.
I think one of the questions in last week's mailbag was how many over under number of games before everybody's back on Rich Rodriguez's case after the pit win? And we said 0.5,
Yeah.
like first quarter of next game.
Mhm.
And here we are. I'm gonna do a repeat, sort of a repeat. This was a question, and I don't know if this was I'm gonna start it off with this. It was not the most upvoted question, but it was something that somebody posited on the board the night of the game, and I laughed and I wanted to ask you it in the post game pod, and I forgot.
Okay.
So I have moved WV Nomad Seven's question to the top of the list. Who would win if facing each other? Last year's defense or this year's offense?
Boy, I guess I need to know how many overtimes. Probably, oh boy. Well, I would say this year's offense just because there is a football involved.
Yeah.
Something, and if there was something that was liable to go wrong with last year's defense, um, and again, I don't, I thought that defense was like structurally broken. Just spent too much time trying to figure out how to do the least damage to itself. I know that the results aren't good for the offense, but I think there is structure there, and it's just a matter of running everything better with the right people. It's not a pretty game, Chris. How about that?
No, it is not. Um,
There would probably be like a lightning storm in the middle of it and like a 4 hour delay just to make it even more enjoyable for everybody.
I want to ask you something similar then. This was another question that was later. It did not have the upvotes, but it is related. So let me just get it in. This is the worst offense since when?
I mean, right now it's probably one of. I mean, whew,
I mean, I my first thought was, what about 2019, where West Virginia was were they literally dead
miserable.
last, the 128th and 130 in rushing offense. Um, that was terrible. So I think people forget that, but
Yeah, the 4 and 8 year for Dana was
the
actually kind of fun sometimes offensively. Like that's the whole what if. You'll never know about what happens. They wanted to play Ford Childress. He just wasn't ready. Then his arm blows up like on the second pass of his second game, and it just and he's never the same. The offense is never the same. Uh, but he never had another offense even remotely like this. Bill Stewart never did. Rich's first year, it was better than what we're seeing. I think it was, but it was also it's kind of. I mean, that's so long ago that your expectations and probably your memories are different. But it was so new and different. And again, like a what if there, another significant quarterback injury there or injury there that you're to the quarterback that who knows what's different. But yeah, that 2019 with Neil Brown just it was such a cultural shift for the way they played offense that it was very different. Didn't have the answers as a quarterback, could not run the ball, and then just the absence of playmakers that you were used to is what stands out. It just became a very average offense. That was pretty hard to watch. This one is getting there for sure.
well, I was gonna say the first two that came to my mind were 2019, just because the running offense was horrendous. And I know you said not Bill Stewart, but 2010, it just sticks in my mind because that was a team where the defense was so good that they didn't allow more than 20 points in a game in the regular season in regulation, like the entire season. And the team still lost three regular season games, despite the fact that they had Geno Smith at quarterback, Noel Devine at running back. They had Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey, JD Woods, Jock Sanders, and they couldn't score 20 points a game. Like that's grading on a curve on that one. That one is like F minus 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 for the personnel that they had to not be able to have a competent offense is ridiculous. So
Yeah, that one never figured out what it was doing too. Like good players and just never. That's a good one to throw in there.
I mean, they were young. Like, I mean, I said all those names, but I think what Gino was a freshman, maybe like Tavon was a freshman, Stedman Bailey was a freshman. Like, those were all super young guys, but still, like, that just can't happen. All right, Mike. Hey, I've already gotten us off track. I Let's get us back onto it here.
All right.
The rest of the questions that we're going to answer, these are the most upvoted questions by you, asked by you, upvoted by you, and we will answer some of them in the podcast here. Again, the most upvoted ones, a couple of them that are very much upvoted, going to 3-minute videos as well, and then the rest in the mailbag. Um, let's get started. KP55, how different is this offensive line if Trickett is here? There's talent there with our current starters, just not production. First, can we agree with the second part of that? I'm not sure I agree with the second part of that to start.
Yeah, does that assume that is he saying that Rick Trickett would have brought in better talent?
No, I read it as he's stating as a fact that it says this is a statement. There's talent there with our current starters, just not production. So he's saying that there's talent. I'm assuming like above average FBS talent. It's just not being productive and is putting the blame on Big No. I'm not sure the talent's there. So I'd like to first disagree with the statement at the end. But do you agree with that? Disagree with that, or do you just want to address the question of the first part?
Hmm. I think you would probably want to tell yourself that it's better because of Rick Trickett and that he is perhaps more than anybody else aligned with what Rich Rodriguez stands for as a head coach and what he demands from his players. And I'm not sure that Rich rubbed off on Rick Trickett as much as maybe Rick Trickett rubbed off on Rich Rodriguez. Not that there's anything wrong with either way there, but that's how close the hand is of the glove there, I think, as far as how they operate. I'm not sure Jack Bicknell has that. I do know that they spent 1 year together, Bicknell and Rodriguez, so they're not completely unfamiliar. Just the familiarity and the success with Rodriguez and Trickett makes you want to ask this question and also believe in the answer. That's the premise, which means that oftentimes your answer is in your premise, right? I'm with you though, Chris. And however it happened and however many headlines and exclamation points and all caps were used, it just not everybody you bring in is going to be great. And it took 4 games or 3 games or maybe even 2 games for people to say, oh boy, about this offensive line, to reassess some things. I just go back to what they've said from all along about stuff and that it was going to be difficult. And if you break that apart, though, why has it been so hard to get 5 together to play well? Then it's the parts. And do they really and truly get like 5 power 4 starters on the field? I don't know about that. And I wonder, like, if how many of these players that landed here would have been a power 4 starter somewhere else. In fact, 2 of them we know weren't.
Yeah.
And then how many players that were here now, and this is unfair, but like had they gone somewhere else, had they left West Virginia, would they have been a power 4 starter somewhere else? I don't know if that's true either. So are you looking at a situation where you have 5 positions that are filled on a power 4 offensive line by players who aren't power 4 starters? You probably have to reconcile the quality of the ingredients before you pick apart the chef, the restaurant, the dishes, and all that stuff too. So I get the question. I think you know the answer because he asked it that way. I also think that you probably need this is like the one spot in particular you really have to step back and say, all right, was it ever really going to be as good as you wanted to believe? And I have a hard time getting there. Probably did before too.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm glad you pointed that out again. I'm just on the boat of I just don't think the talent was there. Again, they tried. They took some shots on some kids. I've gone over a million times why I didn't think it would work and why it's difficult to recruit transfers on the offensive line. Again, the best of the best are either A, staying where they were, or B, going to fill the one remaining spot on offensive line. Like an elite right guard is not looking for a complete rebound on the offensive line. They are looking for a school that's like, hey, man, we got 4 awesome linemen back and we need a right guard. and he's going there. Like, it's not difficult. West Virginia was neither of those. And then, yeah, you're looking at guys that were, go across the two deep. Um, Cray, backup lineman here, West Virginia, hasn't been bad. I think off the PFF marks, he's probably been the best of the five. Crawford, backup lineman at Arkansas. Agbo, backup lineman. Bosley injured, so we can't really count him. Clay, coming from an FCS school. Walter Youngbear was, according to, again, PFF marks, like a ton of experience, but a average starter at Tulane. So an average starter there, moving up to P4 full time. What is that? Chemo bouncing back and forth between offensive and defensive line at LSU and not really seeing the field. Iasosa, not really seeing the field. Haslam, not seeing the field. Like, again, these guys weren't seeing the field at their previous schools, or they came from smaller schools. So to think that they're just going to pop in and be elite or top talent P4 guys is just not the case, I don't think. But I mean, again, that's nothing against the coaching staff or targeting these guys. Those are the gambles you have to take with the one NIL funds you have, and two, the situation of the roster at the time.
Can I ask you two questions off this quickly? 'Cause I don't want to take up too much of the time.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of Trinidad Chambliss talk, Chris. What about the Will Reed discourse?
Hmm. That's tough. What is he doing? I haven't actually kept up.
Nothing. He's played 6 snaps
Okay.
for undefeated, nationally ranked Georgia Tech. A Princeton guy goes to Georgia Tech, not playing very well. I think he's probably pretty happy that with things are going to turn out for him. But that's a guy that people have penciled into play somewhere. Maybe tackle. I think he's been a guard for six snaps at Georgia Tech. But he was here, celebrated. Everybody's like, all right, here's a player who's going to play somewhere. Um, but they kept recruiting, and
He did
my
not like
understanding
that.
wasn't very happy about that.
Yeah.
Um, are they better with him right now? He's not even playing for another
Yeah.
Power Five program, so Power Four program. Number one. Number two, Chris, tell me this isn't going to happen again next year.
I can't.
Yeah,
I literally cannot.
because
Because
here's an
again,
offensive line that everybody wants to run in a town. The coach, I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate on that. But if you, let's say they make a coaching change, or let's say they make a big deal out of the offensive line of the portal again, are you recruiting 5 guys who played together on one team and know how to do this side by side? Probably not, right? So, and then is your only guys who have eligibility who are in the rotation right now, which the rotation is 5.5 people. Carson Lee is the only other one, but like Cray and Livingston are your only guys who have eligibility. Pretty sure. Who knows what a senior is anymore? Are Cray and Livingston unreplaceable, irreplaceable? Can they be replaced? Probably. And so you could have multiple new starters. And even if you have in-house players, even if you have 5 in-house, 3 of them never played together, right? And then Cray and Livingston aren't side by side, so that's not like it's a great proof of point here. But it's just a hard thing to do, and I don't know how they're going to get out of this cycle apart from maybe having a serious conversation about the future in lieu of the present, and playing younger people and hoping that they find 5 that they can march forward with this season and most of them for next season too.
yeah, looking at the starting five, 3 of them are redshirt seniors, one's a redshirt junior. I believe if you look at the two deep, I'm doing this one kind of off the top of my head here, but I think it's like 6 redshirt seniors, 5 redshirt seniors, a couple more redshirt juniors. And so, like,
Mm.
again, you're right. You asked me to tell you they're not doing this again next year. I can't.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to be doing that again this year, unless they take the approach that some of the fans pointed out later in the mailbag. Hey, go younger and try to build that line, like something like. And again, I'm just saying names here just because of classes, not necessarily talent, classes here. But redshirt sophomore Nick Cray at left tackle, Josh Iasosa, redshirt freshman at one guard, Robbie Barton, redshirt freshman at center. Yeah, Cooper Young. Well, he's been hurt, but you see what I'm saying? Like, if you could go that route, maybe you can build them up. Maybe you can go a couple years with these guys. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to kind of implement that.
Yep.
Next question. D Sands 7, who, by the way, is going to get an entire section in the mailbag to himself, because I believe he asked 7 or 8 questions in a row. It was
Trigger happy.
impressive. But this was the most upvoted one out of all those. Why aren't we using Cam Vaughn more creatively to get the ball in his hands, crossers out of the backfield, reverses, etc.? Given that he played for Rich at Jack State, I'm surprised with his utilization so far. Can I first jump in real quick here on this
Go
last
for it.
part again? Mike, over under 3.5 touches per game for Cam Vaughn at Jack State in the regular season last year.
Over?
Under.
Really?
In the regular season. Okay, I think people forget because in the bowl game he had 9 catches, I think it was. But during the 13 game regular season, which 12 games and then the conference championship game, he averaged 3 catches per game. That's
Jeez.
it. I think I might have said touches. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse. I didn't mean to trick you with the question. 3 catches per game in 13 games. So I'm not that surprised. Again, I think when it did one of those player capsules, it kind of did that. This is why this guy might be good. This is why he might be bad. And one of the things I pointed out was like, hey, man, this is a converted quarterback that didn't really touch the ball much last year when you think of alpha receiver. And, don't be thrown off just because he had a big bowl game. So, yes, should they get him to him more? Sure, absolutely. I think they're trying somewhat. But again, I think there was the one play where Vaughn beat his guy. He was open, and Nico overthrew him and behind him by like 10 yards. And if
Yeah.
he makes a good pass there, that's a 30, 40, 50-yard gain, maybe a touchdown.
Did was he in the backfield on the first series
First
or the
play,
first snap?
starting
Was it the first
technical
game?
starting running back in my mind.
Where did that go?
I don't know. He didn't carry the ball.
No. There's some weird stuff happening there. Like that was encouraging to me because I think a lot of people are like, all right, if he's definitely one of your five best non-offensive linemen that has to be out there. So I kind of the quarterback is six. So you got like you're trying to figure out your five people who are going to be with the ball in their hands beside the quarterback. He's without Ty Edwards, probably number one. And just again, lack of targets, lack of touches. But when you see him in the backfield the first play, all right, they have something cooked up. They worked on Cam Vaughn during the week, and I just didn't see that the rest of the game. Chris, just let me ask you this, like just observationally, where has he lined up this year the most?
I feel like outside receiver.
Outside what side?
I don't know. Trick question,
Well, he
right?
started on the left. He was
Okay.
outside left. Now he's played almost two-thirds of the snap outside right the
I
last
was
two
gonna say
games.
I thought it was right, but yeah. Okay.
So I don't know what that is. Maybe I don't know why that would be. Like I know that in a lot of offenses, like Holgerson's offense, for example, they one year they moved Tavon from one slot to the other just because he's closest to the ball. He's the first guy the quarterback sees. It's hot, all that stuff. Like the guy who's close to the ball is going to get the ball, and they moved Tavon there, and then Tavon went nuts. Offenses will do that. They'll try to move people around and get them close to the ball or in the read progression. I don't know what this is. Left side, right side, left-handed quarterback. You figure the right side he's not going to see very often. I don't know what's going on there. That's a weird thing. It could be as simple as it's not, but like is the boundary field. But the way that the snaps is split and changed, it was almost inverse proportion the first two games. It's not been that way now. And then, he did do a lot of tandem stuff with Grayson Barnes again, but Barnes wasn't involved in the passing game either. Possibly they took him away. It's possible they are moving him around left side to right side to keep defenses honest. He's been a little bit underutilized, I think, in the slot. I just don't know if he knows how to play slot, Chris. Like some guys just don't have that. Some guys are too big or they don't know the routes or they're not good at those routes. It's you can only ask him to do what he's good at right now. And if he's not good at these different things that you want him to do, then that's not fair to him. Is he that type of player as you've laid out? Maybe not yet. Is he the type of player to invest in to get him closer toward that where he is good for the offense? Probably, but they might also be working on that too. Haven't seen it come out of the garage yet, but they might be under the hood looking at some stuff.
That's wild. I hadn't paid attention to. I mean, just in my mind, I was like, yeah, he's playing on the right hand side. I think most of the time, but I didn't realize that he started on the left side. You're right. Like I'm looking at his snaps now. Basically, the first 2 games it was like 2-1, 3-1,
Mm-hmm.
left hand side, and then now 3-1 the right hand side. The last 2 games, including last game where it was 42-4, 42 on the right side, 4 on the left, or 40. Excuse me. There's a 2 slot snaps. So 44 to 2, 4, 44 to 4, right side. Okay.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. Like that's a left-handed quarterback. So that's now his blind side. That's like typically that means now Cam Vaughn is like third in his progression. Like again, I don't want to like just assume too much, but more often than not, when you are on the blind side and you're going, that's a quarterback that's going through progressions, the receiver that's on your backside is down the progression tree of your decision making process. Like, I mean, of course, you can draw plays where you're supposed to look there first, but interesting. And also interesting, I over under 0.5 carries for Cam Vaughn when he was at Jacksonville State.
Total. I don't think he had a carry, did he?
Zero.
Yeah.
So he's had one carry. I was like, oh, I think I said touches instead of catches. Doesn't matter. He hasn't carried the ball either. He's had one carry his entire career as a West Virginia, 0 yards. So
Um, just the difference between left and right, you're probably thinking more of X and Z.
yeah,
It's just that like your Y and Z, which is going to be your tight end, is going to be they're going to be together a lot. And like I said, they are using Barnes and Vaughn in a bit of a tandem where the routes do work together. And like I said, they're not rub routes, they're not pick routes, but Vaughn has been successful running routes off of Barnes, and Barnes sometimes benefits from that attention too. That might be something that they're working on there, just to try to get him free, or whatever. But you can weak side, strong side, you can flip that around too. So he's on your more dominant side of your quarterback too.
RB 23. Does Jalen Henderson have the ability to be a competent passer? We know he can run.
I mean, yeah, I hope so, right? Otherwise, why is he here? Why is he getting paid money to be a value transfer and all that? Um, have we seen the best of him as a passer? I don't think so. Have we seen much promise from him as a passer? I would say no. I just don't think that what we've seen on the field is what they were really excited to go after and to get, and what made this a quarterback competition that, again, Markio appears to have won by a good distance, but at least it was competitive, and it wasn't anything that they were willing to crown. Because why, Chris? They weren't sure. Again, if you look at Henderson, there's just something there. There just is. It looks different. It works faster. It's more in line with what he wants to do, but hasn't been the passer yet. Does he have to be a competent passer? Yeah. Does he have to be able to like pick apart defenses and throw the ball through a tire swing at 25, 30 yards? Probably not. But if he can get the ball in play, if he can hit quick stuff, and if he can turn pressure or a sack into a positive play, that's important. Like, they don't want to have negative plays. They don't want to have dead downs, and incomplete passes are dead downs and in some regard negative plays because you haven't been a positive on that snap. And you haven't seen that from him as a passer as of yet. Can they get into a Jalen Henderson passing offense, which is probably going to be very different than what they asked Nico Marchio to do? They're probably working on that.
Blue and gold 81. What is the patience slash tolerance level to get back to being a winning football program? AKA, how long is Rich's leash?
I don't have an answer for this, Chris, because the dynamics are so different now. And it's not even that it's a universal in college football for just multiple reasons. Some people can spend more. Some people have better pedigree. Some people have greater recruiting resources and access to recruits. That stuff's very dynamic in that it changes from one to another. That's always been the case. And what has that done to West Virginia? It's left them in a tricky spot, and maybe you afford your coaches more responsibility or more patience there. But West Virginia's coming off 6 years where it wasn't good. So I think it's even more urgent for someone to come in and to fix this sooner than later, because when 6 years turns into 7, 8, 9, 10, you're losing a generation of fans and faith and donations and all that. But it's also extremely difficult to do what they're trying to do and what they felt they had to do, which is completely flip over a roster. 80 new players, or you used to only get 85 scholarship players. Think about that. Imagine if everybody on your team was new, right? Well, wait, they are. That's crazy. And like, so it's an individual's preference how patient they are, but what are they drawing on? Old versus new is just such a hard comp to make and to draw like your baseline expectations, because what you had before, you can't possibly put in place now. Can't do it. So I don't know how that's answered. And I think it's even harder for ADs or for fans or for people who sign checks or for who ask for ticket price rises or anything like that. I think it's hard for them to digest this stuff and try to answer that question themselves too.
Yeah, I think when Rich was hired, people have been reminding me of this a lot lately. Somebody posted on the board the other day. I talked about this was going to be a lot shorter of a leash for Rich Rodriguez, in part because of just a split among who people wanted and so on and so forth. And part of the reasons that you just said as well. And I said then, I said now, I had to repeat myself because I was accused of saying 1 year. And I think I was asked about 1 year in the mailbag last week and specifically said he would not be fired after 1 year, even if the team went 2-10. So still believe that. But I think I said when he was hired, this is a 2 to 3 year evaluation window, not a 6 1, not a 6 year one, alluding to the Neil Brown thing. So yeah, and even the team goes 2-10, 6-6, whatever this year. Next year is hey, this is, I hate to set bars. I'm not the athletic director, but that's one of those where you're looking at saying 7-8 wins minimum. And it's for a lot of the reasons. I think people, it's big picture stuff, but you put it's not an understatement. It is not, it sounds dramatic, but it is not an understatement. If this team doesn't start winning soon, you are going to lose almost an entire generation of fans, I think is what you just said. And like, that's
Mhm.
not, it's again, sounds dramatic, but it's not an overstatement because that is like a whole decade plus of fans, of students that come through the school that are like, nah, I'm not supporting this. Think of it for those listening. If you graduated from WVU or you grew up to, rooting for WVU during the mid 2000s up through 2012, I guarantee you are probably donating or willing to donate more to the school, to more willing to support the school in some fashion than
Mhm.
you are if you were a fan that grew up and the team was going 6-6 every single year. So the fact that, and this is not Rich's fault, but the fact that Neil Brown's tenure was so mid, as the kids would say, for 6 years has now shortened the leash for Rodriguez because, yeah, it just can't go on for much longer.
Also, this is not what was sold when the decision to hire was made. It
Mm-hmm.
was that, hey, you know what, you can win right away. He'll have donors, he'll get players, all that. But that, and again, that's not specific to Rodriguez. It's more specific to him because of the donor component. I'm not sure how real that is or how realistic that is, but anybody who comes in is going to be expected to find quality players and produce right away. Maybe not because of a track record, because again, this is all new. Who's good at this, Chris? We have no idea. We have no idea who's good at getting players. Like maybe Lane Kiffin, right? He's been the king of the portal for how many years and looks like he's done pretty well. But anybody who's hired, you're going to be one of the great questions and answers in the interview process is going to be, hey, how can you win 8 games this first year? Because somebody else did it, right? Or
Yeah.
somebody else won the Big 12 in their first year, or something like that is going to be really hard for for fans to ignore it because it's happened somewhere else. And the expectation is you can go out and buy players now. You can, but so can everybody else. It makes it very difficult. And then I don't know if this is a figment of my imagination, if I made too much of it, but I've had people mention this to me recently too. If you just look at Rich Rodriguez's contract, look at Ross Hodge's contract, look at Darren DeVries' contract, look at Steve Saban's contract. They had automatic extensions in it. Rich's contract doesn't have that. So, like, if Sabans makes the NCAA postseason, he gets an extension. He already got extended otherwise. Hodge and DeVries had the same thing. If they were, what, top six and it made the tournament, something like that, I forget what it was, but there was an automatic extension. There's no such language like that in Rich Rodriguez's contract, which means, and it just says, we'll agree to talk after 3 years. Can they talk before that? Yes. Can they extend it if he wins 8 games next year? Yes. That just tells me that you put that marker in there of, again, let's say top five finish in the Big 12, and I don't know what would extend your football coach for a year, but let's just say it's that, and like he doesn't get there, but he has good seasons, right? Or let's just say that they're progressing, but it's hard to hit that landmark. If it's just difficult to predict it in that terms for football right now, and it's not in the contract, that might be why it's not there. It might also be that after 3 years, you're thinking this hasn't worked. Do I want to do this? Do you want to do this? What changes do we need to make? How do we have to restructure contracts? Like there's just so much that is it's like putty right now, and you're trying to figure out what it's going to look like. And I don't know how anybody could know for sure. You have ideas and hunches, and you just put yourself in position to adapt and answer as best as you can.
True WB fan.
Yep.
I know quote unquote deals aren't public information, but everything leaks out like how much we were paying Battle, Kerr, Edwards, etc. Where do we realistically land on NIL money in the Big 12 for football? TTU is playing Texas Tech is paying around 40 million this year, so no one should expect us to compete with them. But what about other teams?
Probably bottom middle,
Here you
if that
go.
makes sense.
Oh, there was the last part of this question. So
Oh,
the 12 opponent, but it gives you an opportunity to rank
oh.
them. The 12 opponents the West Virginia faces in WVU. So 1 through 13 this year. Where does West Virginia stand money wise out of the 12 teams they play in themselves?
All right. So above Ohio, above
Okay.
Robert Morris.
Okay. Pitt, no. Here, we'll just go through the
I
schedule.
don't know Pitt. I honestly don't know Pitt's score, but I'm trying to think of it because they play some high rollers in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who in the Big 12 schedule they would pay more than. Maybe UCF, but UCF had so many new players that maybe collectively I'll put them above UCF. All right, let's go through, Chris.
Yeah. So Kansas,
No,
no,
Kansas paid
not even
more.
close. Utah, no.
No,
BYU, no.
no. Yeah,
UCF,
I think so.
okay. TCU,
No,
no. Houston,
no.
no. Colorado, no.
Arizona State, no.
Texas Tech, absolutely not. So
So here's
out of
close
13
calls.
teams, what is that? 10? 10th?
Here's close calls.
Pitt?
That one I don't know, but
Yeah.
I've never heard like, oh my gosh, Pitt's NIL. Have you seen what they're doing? Whereas I've heard that for Kansas, Utah, BYU, just the following opponents, as it were. Not sure. I'm confident UCF. They're both above that one. I might be wrong, but I'm confident to say that I'm not wrong there. TCU has a lot of money for the program, has access to money for NIL. I'm pretty sure their TCU's above them. I wonder if that's a blowout. And Houston, I've just heard that Houston paid good money for good players, and it looks like that's happening too. But they got Connor Wegman. That's a big ticket for a quarterback. They got some other players that have been you might not know about. Were probably there, but I bet you that one's probably pretty close too.
Okay.
Other ones, I don't think it's a debate.
So best case scenario out of the 12 opponents in West Virginia is 10th
That's not
in
great,
NIU.
right?
No,
Yeah.
it's not good. Not ideal. Ooh, that was dark. That got dark fast.
Yeah.
That's let's switch to where West Virginia does spend a lot of money. How about basketball?
Okay.
Um, a little mix in here because this one got upvoted. Big news over the weekend. WV Pride 21. How good of a pickup is Dayum? Who else are some targets for the next season of basketball? Um, that's Alio Dayum, a center from Bella Vista Prep out in Arizona, I think it is.
Hmm.
6'10, 200 pounds. Wildly differing in opinions from high school scouts about him. I'm a big fan. Like I like rim running defensive centers. Like I like it a lot. Um, if you go and look at his rankings, 24/7 Sports, 88. Like that's okay. That's solid. Like
Not an
for
86, huh?
not an above an 86, but an 88. Meanwhile, some of the other people out there ranking him have him, 4-star top 100 type. So no, nobody thinks he's bad, but I think there's some people that see some really high potential with him. And I think it's all going to center on his offense. Like, again, he is defensively, I think he could contribute right now. I mean, honestly, the first tweet I wanted to make after kudos to Andrew. Andrew was on top of this, had it, broke the news on Sunday. And the first tweet I wanted to do to that after I saw Andrew's tweet was, can he reclassify to 2025? Like, they've already done it once. They try to sneak him in last minute. Because I'll be honest, let's put it this way: if he were on campus right now, he might play this season. Like I think defensively, he has that ability. Offensively, he is not ready. But he's a high schooler, so I think he can get there. I think it can happen. I think this is a big time pickup. It's a great start to the next class.
So I'd heard a couple things about him that like it was I don't know what his final five were. Apparently it was pretty public, but that Josh Pastner gotten really involved at UNLV and that Wake Forest was an option and it wasn't like a blue blood who's who. But then Wake Forest came off the board because they got some I believe they signed twins who were both big and all right, that works there. And then it just kind of became like this all works here because if you're worried about too many people in front of you, whatever, then it could be you here in Morgantown, which turns out to be that. Everything you just said, Chris, I agree with there. I think it's a good acquisition for what the team needs. Like they're gonna have offensive capabilities because that's more readily available out there. Like you can just find that. You can find. I'm not saying you go out and find an Honor Huff, but there are guys out there like that that just miss the mark for other programs, but you can fit into your program and make work. What's been the knock about Hodge so far? One, small guys, right? How is this guy going to do this? How are they going to have enough size? Is this guy really a five? Well, you get a 6'10, 225 rim runner, shot blocker, rebounder. That helps out a lot. Being that big and that long and around the rim, that makes offense a little easier sometimes. You can be there to catch handoffs or just get loose stuff and score. He's a 4-star 88, Chris. And then I think the concern, I don't think it's fair to say it's a criticism when you're scrambling like Ross Hodge was, but how would he be able to recruit for not his first season, but his second season, third season, if not relying solely on the results, which might be thin next year? Might be, might not be. But when you're doing all this stuff that we just saw Darren DeVries do and they missed the NCAA tournament, controversial, whatever, but they didn't get in the postseason. And West Virginia's basketball tradition has slipped in the past couple of years. Tradition hasn't. Their success has slipped in the past couple of years. So if you don't have a great season your first season, it's going to be hard to recruit for your second season. Why don't you go out and get your 4-star before the first season starts and take care of that for the second season? That just answers the question. That you can go out, you can do this stuff. His staff does have connections, it seems. They know what are they doing out in Arizona? It's not because the guy grew up rooting for West Virginia. They went out and they found him and they recruited him against some other people. I just think it's a good sign. I don't know what he's going to do as a player. You're right. The limitations probably realistic for the foreseeable future until he can develop and grow and learn some stuff. But you got to have a starting point, and nothing less than that right now. That's a good sign. He went out and he got somebody that's a 4-star for the next season, not for this season, but answer the question. A lot of people are probably going to be biting their nails about if this initial season doesn't go well for him.
And the next part of that question was, hey, who are some other targets? Keep an eye on Kingston Whitty on campus for an official visit right now, like as we're recording this, on campus for an official visit. Point guard that picked up some offers late, started getting a 4-star rating, and now it's West Virginia this week and Tennessee next week for official visits. So good competition for his services. Pretty highly regarded amongst college coaches. And then I don't want to say it's going to slow down, but how many high school kids do you want to take when the transfer portal's right there?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think there's going to be that many more high school guys they're going to target in this class if they're able to get Whitty. You got your point guard, you got a center, maybe you target one more. For now, not saying in the end they don't end up with more than 3, but for now you kind of focus on one guy.
Mm-hmm.
See
A lot of high
Hush.
school guys in this team now, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, there
They,
are.
they might be, I don't say done, but they might be, are we done?
Yeah. Yeah, there's just not that many open spots for now.
You have, all right, Amir Jenkins, Jaden Forsyth, uh, DeAndre Thomas, DJ Thomas, sorry. Um, who's the kid from Canada? Evans Barning,
Hmm.
Oyedeer. Are that all the freshmen here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah, that's right.
freshmen, right?
Oyedier counts as a redshirt freshman, so there you
Yeah.
go.
We got a lot of guys who could be here for conceivably a couple of years.
Yeah. C Hush says, "Can we ask Rich on Tuesday why he won't rotate any linemen? Come with the PFF receipts, Mike."
I mean, I'd much rather ask Jack Bicknell. What are the PFF receipts? Just the scores and grades.
Yeah,
I'm not going into a gunfight with a knife because I think, especially in the offensive line, that's where coaches really bristle about PFF grades.
yeah,
I think you could say what is you can ask the question in a certain way, but I'm not going to go in there brandishing PFF receipts. I'm not going to ask to speak to the manager as PFF stands behind me. Sorry, I get the point. Valid question. I'm sure someone else will ask it. If not, I got you.
yeah. No, I was posted on the board from Wolfie. Yeah, out of 302 qualifying linemen, guards, Chemo ranks 300th out of 302 in run blocking, 287 in pass. Walter Youngbear, 271, 222. Tackles out of 294. Cray is 164, 166. Crawford, 210, 229. And out of 148 centers, qualifying centers, Livingston is 141 in run blocking, but 22 in pass blocking. So,
Hey,
um,
for a running
there
offense,
you go.
great. Listen, I understand the question, but there's a way to finesse the question, and
Yeah.
in like what will it take to play more players? There's a very easy answer. They got to practice better. But like I don't know. There's a way to get it. I'm sure.
As I say, just to be clear, they're not purposefully playing the wrong guys. Like they're playing these guys.
So hold on, let me write this down.
They're playing these guys for a reason. Is I mean, there's one of two reasons. I don't know. We don't know which one it is. Not yet. Is either A, they have made an incorrect evaluation on who should be starting, or B, the starters are the best five guys that they got. I'm currently leaning B because these coaches have been coaching a long time, but I don't know what other answers there are right now. It's either A or B there. So,
Yeah, I don't think playing. I just wonder about the collateral damage of change for the sake of change. Like if
yeah.
you're not happy with, for example, Kimo McConaughey, and you want to play Carson Lee, fine. Carson Lee may be your starting center this week, which is another problem too.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to play Robbie Martin. Well, what if Robbie Martin isn't ready yet? It's a redshirt freshman,
Yeah.
right? You want to play, I forget the younger of the two. I mean, who cares? Like Isosa and Agbo are
Yeah.
essentially freshmen in this system, right? I know one's older than the other, but still, it's they're. I would guess they're just not ready. And again, what was most telling to me was that there was no taking a series off of your guards, your tackles, or anything like that. And that's something that Big Nell had talked about before. He had no problem playing, 8 people at that time. It probably never progressed from there, where it regressed, where he didn't feel good that way. Like he gave us the clues. Well, we only got to talk to him once, which is problematic. I understand that. What you see is what you get, and what you've seen is just 5 linemen. Even like against an FCS team until the very end, when there were problems against Ohio and Pitt and Kansas, just no subs. Is that a philosophical thing or is that reality? Don't know.
Um, Mike, you ready to irresponsibly throw around money numbers?
Oh, we didn't already? All right, let's do it
Yeah.
irresponsibly now. Sure.
Yeah. We might have been a little more responsible before.
Yeah.
Doley's 772. How much total money is WVU spending on the quarterback position this year?
Oh my gosh. Henderson was not cheap. I don't know that Brown was. I don't know Brown was a big ticket item.
No.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure Markio had a lot of leverage apart from I give you two in the room. Um,
And then it's Fox Wilkins. He was
Fox,
hurt.
I think Fox might have gotten a little bit of a sweetener because they really like him, but so did other people too. Like I just heard that before. They were not going to let him go. I'm not sure that there was somebody at the door holding the bag for him, but they were like, "This is one we got to hold on to." Kind of heard the same about Dior Hubard though too. So maybe I'll check my
Oh,
sources there.
that's
But
coming up next question, buddy.
great. So let's just say in their top four, would you say a million?
If I said a million,
Seems high.
let me answer your question with a question. If you said a million, and I could believe it, I don't is 750,000 of that Henderson?
No
Just
way.
again, I'm asking that and I'm phrasing it that way. And I believe maybe not that high of a percentage, but I believe he's definitely getting more than everybody, like individually, like not
Okay.
maybe not combined. Maybe it's not 50-50, but like I think just because of his situation, again, as you noted, like Markio was already here. And where was he going that he was going to get a guaranteed starting spot? Where Fox is a high school guy. Wilkins was hurt coming over there. Brown was coming from a smaller school. Henderson was an SEC kid that had a high potential and probably had a few people, looking into him. So
Mm.
if we said a million, I could believe it. I don't think it's more than that. I'm with
No.
you. That might be on the high end. I think maybe our listeners were expecting higher than that, but
Yeah. That'd be my counter. Like, what do you think?
yeah,
Like your starting Power Five transfer now is 7 figures in like where it really matters. I'm
yeah,
not sure that West Virginia would pull the trigger for 7. Like, no, I'm saying like if you got like a legitimate guy,
right.
you're taking for and like WVU doesn't have one of those, but you're
Yeah.
taking for like $1 million ride there probably.
It's the
Um,
same thing as the offensive line. It's like all of these guys in this room that West Virginia got, God, it's gonna sound bad. They got him out of the ding and dent bin or whatever, like at the grocery store. Like, these guys are like Jalen Henderson didn't play at all last year, was hurt, has only like didn't even start at New Mexico, has only played a couple games at Texas A&M. Markio only played a couple games at West, or played a handful of games at West Virginia. Max Brown was gone from Florida after 1 year and came from, what was it, Charlotte? Like,
Charlotte.
yeah, it's like, okay, cool. Like, how many people were fighting for his services? Khalil Wilkins was hurt, redshirted. How many people were fighting for his services? So yeah, it's West Virginia didn't go out and get, they didn't buy the top shelf stuff. Like, they were browsing along the bottom shelf and seeing what was in the discount bin on their way to the cash register.
Yeah, I think like maybe 800 would be my guess
Yeah.
between those four.
Yeah.
And most, you're right, almost all of it to Henderson and Markio, with more to Henderson than Markio. But when you say irresponsible, Chris, highly irresponsible.
Yeah.
I just the numbers they don't talk about. Like they'll dish on some revenue sharing stuff, how they do stuff for positions and who gets a priority and all that stuff. But the NIL thing, one, it's very subjective. It kind of depends on the person. And also, if you're acquired, you're going to get more promises for that for sure.
um, Related, actually, I'm going to do one related QB question before I pop you with the Dior Hubbard question.
Mm.
Crawdaddy 2655 for, has Nico Marchio taken his last meaningful snap at WVU?
No.
Okay, I agree. So I don't know if he'll start next week. Maybe, maybe not. But meaningful, no, he'll get back in. Like, um,
Yeah, like,
Cobb,
do you think Jalen Henderson is taking this and running with it and just hiding from everybody? I
no.
would not guarantee that at all.
I think even when I did my game by game predictions on my countdown the day before the season opener against Robert Morris, um, in my game by game predictions, it was like game 4, Jalen Henderson comes in for the struggling Nico Marchio, throws a touchdown. It was like game 7, Nico Marchio comes in for a struggle. Scotty Fox is in for a struggling Jalen Henderson. Hey, is it going exactly how I predicted? No, but the quarterback kind of shuffle, I feel, is part of it. Cobb 0012, two-parter. First part, what is going on with Dior Hubbard? We heard good things about him all spring in camp. Then all of a sudden, he's RB5.
All right. I'm gonna go into the library and delete the video where we pick our players, our freshman with the most snaps, and I picked Dior Hubbard. I still may end up being right just because of the lack of freshmen, but to get to this place has been a strange journey. I'll take some of the blame for this. We might have just gotten this wrong. We might have listened to the wrong things and believed the wrong people. Chris, we saw none of any of this live, really. 80 seconds of practice in the spring. Was it 8 minutes? What did I say? 80
8
seconds?
minutes, 8 minutes.
Eight
Yeah.
minutes of practice in the spring. It felt like 80 seconds. 8 minutes of practice in the spring. And the spring game was who knows. Like I did not pick up the phone and call my dad and tell him about Dior Hubbard at the spring game. And then I just saw guys run through pads in the summer. Now, you try to talk to people about what's good and what's not, but in the summer, Chris, what was the story? Everybody was hurt, and it was like Hubbard and White were the only ones there. So of course there was going to be some sort of a impression that Hubbard was making because two guys were getting consistent handoffs. One's Jaheim White, and you're kind of conditioned to what that's going to look like, and then you're just getting doses of Dior Hubbard, and like, oh, this guy looks pretty good. Well, he's one of two, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the two best running backs on the team. Well, there's only two. So I had never heard until Rodriguez said it that he had been beat up during the beginning of camp and it lingered because he never missed practice as far as we knew. Like, we got like itemized participation reports up into including like, yeah, Jalen Knight hasn't practiced because he's not eligible. What? So we just never heard that, but it's possible that we just missed it too. We didn't get to see. But every time that we were out there, which was twice, he was there and he looked good. We have photographic evidence. We even have videos of him running through pads and not fumbling. Something fell off a cliff behind closed doors. That's all I can give you. Like, and I haven't heard anybody say the reason he's not playing is because he stinks or he's got a bad attitude or he's hurt. I don't have an answer for you. Do you think I haven't asked that question? I just don't have one there. And like when you're going to ask Rodriguez in a news conference, you're going to get a very like, oh, we'll give him some, he did some nice things, this and that. We'll see. Does he move up the depth chart because of 3 carries for however many yards against Kansas' second and third stringers? That was second and third string at the very end, Chris. I looked.
Yeah.
Starters early, not late. And then, would you like to have access to Larry Porter here? Probably, because he can give you maybe like a more detailed, I don't want to say authoritative, authentic version of reality for Dior Hubbard. But we got our one time to talk to Porter this year. So that mystery will continue up till there's an explanation from somebody that you can really truly sink your teeth into. And I have not been able to give you that one so far. I will confess that, and it's possible we were just got this wrong and we're misled or believe the wrong things. But I don't have a great explanation for you apart from you just kind of believe what you want to believe on these things and who can tell you stuff and what we were told and what I think pretty consistently. It wasn't just you and me, Chris. Like that just has not been what's happened on the field so far. And there's reasons beyond that apart from we haven't found time for him.
You already answered the second part of the question, so we will move on to the next one. We got three more questions, Mike.
All right, what's power?
Ears fan 2022. Someone in the Oklahoma State media is telling me that Ren Baker is a target and that Mike Gundy will be let go later this week.
Whoa.
Um,
Target for what? For
for
AD?
athletic director, I assume here. Um,
And Mike
Hold on
Gundy's
a
going to be
second.
fired this week?
Yeah, Oklahoma State's poor donor output. Here, hold on, sorry, I skipped something here. I was trying to look ahead for the final question, but I'll
Why are
just
we
read the
doing
whole thing.
this?
We'll see if he's right. But how concerned on a scale of 1 to 10 should we be about that amid concerns of Oklahoma State's poor donor output and support, considering that's what Ren does, and clearly other Big 12 teams are jealous about the statement WVU just released about all that.
The
Um,
statement saying we want to be in the top half of the Big 12, the entire Big 12 is mad about that. At least
yeah.
half the teams aren't.
Um,
I guess I don't get the genesis of this question here. Like, he thinks this person is under the impression that Baker's going to leave West Virginia for Oklahoma State. Okay. I can't get there yet. Sorry. I don't know how many times we're going to do this with Baker, but
was this the team? Sorry, there's been a lot of openings that he's been linked to. This
yeah,
was it Oklahoma, but it was Oklahoma that you shot down a while ago, right? Like,
said he was going to get a contract extension, and then like they signed it. I think even before the Oklahoma job opened.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah,
Um,
that's right.
so 1 to 10. I mean, I'm never a one just because that would
Yeah,
make no sense. I'd be pretty close to a one on this one right now too. Um, I just haven't seen anything connecting Ren Baker to Oklahoma State yet. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. Didn't well, has the AD signed his contract yet?
at Oklahoma State.
Like he's been working without a contract, but they're like, yeah, we got to take care of. And they were supposed to have a board meeting recently. I don't know. Maybe he hasn't signed it, but that doesn't matter either, I guess. But if he has just signed the contract, it's not like people were just concerned about Mike Gundy. Like they went and chopped his contract up last year and totally restructured it because they were like, this might be the last year. I don't think you do that and sign your AD. Um, are you Google searching? Has Chad Weiberg signed his
I'm
contract yet?
trying. Yeah, that's what I'm trying desperately to find.
Let me stretch here. Here's the connection. Baker from Oklahoma cut his teeth in athletics at Oklahoma State. I just think that every time a Big 12 job opens, you got to be careful connecting Ren Baker to it. And again, not it wasn't that long ago where everybody was telling me, um, well, he's here for the future now because Oklahoma, because he signed an extension. He's not going to Oklahoma. He's not going anywhere. Well, we know which is it. Just we got to figure that one out there. But would he go to Oklahoma at a time where he's got to get on the ground and hire a football coach? Like, think about the conditions he walked into here. He got on the ground and he spent a year looking at Neil Brown. Like, does he want to go in and get to know, even if he knows Oklahoma State? It's not like he's been there recently, but does he want to go in there, get to know everybody, everything, and then concurrently run a coaching search for football? I'm not sure Oklahoma State's going to do that. Like, they might keep their AD for that, but maybe they clean house. I'm not sure. I'm kind of spinning here, Chris,
No,
as you look for the answer.
well, here's the answer. So as of last week, the answer was no, and the official statement was it will be quote handled in due time.
All right, that's
Um,
not good for Chad Weiberg then.
no,
Um,
well, and there's also the angle here of the fact that he had heart surgery like last month, which I was not aware of, um,
Jeez.
and had to answer questions about whether or not he would even be able to attend fundraising events and football games and so on. He says he is, says he's good. Follow-up visits have gone well. That's all the information I can find on that. But yeah, as of last week, there was, quote, still no clarity on his contract status.
All right, that's not good for him. Everything you just explained to me makes me think that they might be moving on the AD too, which means they have to do that first. I don't think they're going to fire Gundy during the season. Um, they want to get Zach Robinson, and he's not leaving the NFL midseason. So I would be curious. And then again, does Gundy deserve more time to get this right? Probably not. Does he deserve a chance to finish the season? All things considered, probably. It's just an easier thing for the university to do.
Yeah.
I would not be imminently worried about Ren Baker going to Oklahoma State. I'd be really, really careful with that. In fact, I don't of all the jobs he's been offered, I know it's home for him. I would put that pretty much near the bottom of him. And I don't know how many times the guy can say that he likes it here. I don't know how many extensions he can sign and how many, initiatives he can kick off. And you've seen like right now when he has been having to hire coach after coach after coach, he's been pretty productive and good for the university. And I think ultimately that's what ADs like to do. They do not want to hire coaches because that means they did a bad job or something happened that isn't good reflecting on their time here. They want to do fundraising and they want to do infrastructure and they want to do construction and they want to do capital projects. And he's finally able to like sit back in his chair and do that now. Tough to leave.
Um, yeah, tough to leave when you just signed an extension, what, a couple months ago, and it included an extra several $100,000 in
Yeah.
retention bonuses and
It's
such.
nuts. Yeah. Now that's the boilerplate for anybody that wants to hire him though. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. You keep updating your
Right.
contract. That's like updating your resume. You want me? Here's what it's gonna take.
Yeah. G'day 44. Why are people ready to jump off a bridge because we got thumped by a better team at their home field, who has possibly the best coach in the Big 12 and coming off a bye week?
Well, here's why. What of the issues that contributed to that loss are going away? Quarterback play, running back play, playmaking in the passing game, offensive line. Like you get Ty Edwards back, sure, but are you hitching everything to Ty Edwards? Are we sure about this? Just let me know. Let me know. And then can this defense keep this up? It could not against Kansas. That's why. That's why people are freaking out. Now, to the question's point, should it be a little bit more realistic? Probably, but that's not what anybody wants to hear right now.
Yeah.
They want to win. They were told they were going to win. All the cheerleaders on the outside said this is going to work. Rich Rod's back. Here comes the Big 12 title in Morgantown. People much rather believe that and react to not getting that than being realistic and react to that.
Yeah. And we talked about it, I think, last mailbag. And we said, hey, the Vegas line is what it is because as good as it feels to beat Pitt, that game still was a problem. It still had all of the same issues. West Virginia still struggled to move the ball. None of the underlying stats, none of the underlying data for like the deep dive analytics nerds changed based off of what happened in that Pitt game. Like it was good vibes, it was good momentum, great win, good for the program, good for the fan base's mental health, but it didn't change into the underlying data that says this is a good or a bad team. It still said this is a team that's going to struggle to move the ball. And like you said, yeah, all of that's true about Kansas. Like they're a very good team. We talked about how they beat, what was it, three straight top 25 teams in the last year, kind of rounded back into form and might be dangerous. They had a bye week. They're at home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. All right, last question, Mike. A little bit of fun. This one from WVU Kid 989.
Mm.
Chris, what was your first impression of Mike? Mike, what was your first impression of Chris?
So this is when we met, right? I think people forget we only met like 2 years ago.
That's not true.
uh, so first time we met was it the press box at the Pinstripe Bowl?
Yeah, it might have been that. Like before, no.
Did you because you lived in the Northeast at that time?
Yeah, because I came from Boston at the time, and yeah. No, that was when it was because that was long before. That was when you were still with the Daily Mail. That was long before you came on with us. So,
All
yeah,
right. Well, here's the truth. Like I don't know how many like parties I'm getting invited to among the media group. Some, not all. But like I compete against these people.
Yeah.
So especially that time, I wasn't really trying to be friendly, whatever. But like I never had issues with Chris. And I think I was actually like, I might have been on the boards. I might have had access through the Football Writers Association. Was there some sort of a
We
program
used
then?
to have a FWA offer that like any member used to
Yeah.
um like be able to be on the boards.
All right. So I won't ramble here, but like I wasn't lurking. I don't think I ever posted, but like I ran a pretty busy, active blog at the Daily Mail. And so a lot of fan interaction and feedback was part of what I did, which is very similar to what we do now. It's on steroids now, but sometimes that's good for you too. So I'm always kind of like looking for interaction or ideas of what people are talking about. So I was on the site checking things out and I knew Chris was in charge of it. And like I thought everything was handled responsibly. Like so our first impression, I never had an issue and I was like, this guy's pretty decent. I don't why wouldn't I like him? Whatever. I'm not sure if we talked or talked much that day. I remember you were there in my head. But here's the thing, like I never ever wanted to not work in newspapers, but the when by the time that you called me the one time, Chris, to hire me, I was in. Like I wasn't gonna have my nose up and be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to work for him because I'm not just saying this, but like I know what you do and how you do it now, but I also had that impression before. So I was long answer to a short question, sorry. But the short answer is impressed, I would say, but never I didn't like turn my nose up. And I know I do that sometimes too, which is a bad habit, but I liked the product, liked what everybody was doing. It seemed like a good place, and I knew who was in charge of that. So I always had a level of respect for that.
Yeah, I think the first time, yeah, we actually introduced ourselves to each other was the Pinstripe Bowl because I had come to several games before then. Obviously, that was a long time ago. This was early on when I started working there, but when I was covering home games before that during the regular season,
Yeah.
Mike had his spot nice and tidy right in the middle of the press box or towards the middle of the press box, but the new guys like myself got shunned all the way to the end of the press box. Let's just say I was sitting by some people who are still in the business somehow that sat up there and
See, I'm the one who turned his nose up.
yeah, said, no. But there's somebody that was like the person sitting directly next to me who was supposed to be like a neutral observing journalist was just sitting there being like, God, was it the Baylor game? I can't. It was. I think it was the Baylor game or TCU, but it was like, oh, the refs are so against us right now, and just screaming in the press box about how West Virginia was getting screwed. Like you would have thought I was sitting down in section 106 with like a bunch of fans. Like, but I
Mm.
was sitting next to somebody who runs another website, just screaming up a storm about how the refs were screwing WVU. And I was like, what the hell? So yeah, I don't think we actually met until the Pinstripe Bowl. And then of course, yeah, once CBS was like, all right, we're gonna be moving towards adding a new guy. I was like, hey, we got to get Mike. And they're like, why is that? I was like, because we are different. And I was like, he's gonna bring something that is different than me. Nobody wants to have two of me.
Mm.
We got to have like, a little yin and yang kind of thing going here where we have two different styles. And so that's how that happened. But yeah, dude, as much as I would like to forget the Pinstripe Bowl, that was just not just because of the product on the field, but I don't know if you remember, but because again, veteran Mike, you might have been back a couple rows. I was front row.
Oh
New
God.
guy got the worst seats in the press box, and because it was at the baseball field, it was at Yankee Stadium. It was an open air press box. It was 33 degrees because it was like wet snow coming blowing into the open air press box as I'm sitting in the front row. And I remember, you know, I don't remember if you were front row with me or if you were back second or third row. I think third row might have been where like the SIDs and guys sat and they had foot warmers and everything else.
I moved. I was either first or second row, but my literally my notepad was getting wet
Yeah.
from the snow, and I moved, so I did get back row, but not because they gave me a ticket there. Like, but that was I like that. I never covered a game like that. Here's another one too that like it bugged me, but it also impressed me too. Sometime during the Holgerson tenure, he lost a bunch of assistant coaches, and part of the gripe was they weren't paying multiple years for assistant coaches. And I don't know the order. I'm pretty sure Brian Mitchell left. Brian Mitchell? Yeah. Brian Mitchell left and then Lonnie Galloway left. And I wrote the story that Brian Mitchell left. I'm pretty sure I was first, or I thought. And then you fired off a subscribers to Ear Sports heard about this the other day. And I was like, oh, yeah? huh. But like again, it wasn't like I was mad and like that jerk. How can
Let's
you do that? But
go.
like, yeah, no, but like I was like, all right, well, he got me there, okay. And like now I understand how that works. But before it was obtuse to me. But then I think Galloway went, and I was legitimately working on the Galloway story, and you freaking called me and said, hey, just want to know, have you heard about Galloway leaving? And I was like, what? I was in the middle of like researching and writing the story and trying to put some things together, and I was like, hmm. I don't know what answer I gave you too, but like pretty much close
Oh,
to
you were probably like, oh, nah, man. I don't know anything about that. Probably
who
not
is this?
fake news. Don't worry about it.
No, no, but
And
like I specifically remember that, and then to my point being like, all right, this is actually like a real thing. Things are going on where there's actual reporting. It's not. I think at the time, a lot of people like, oh, message board, mom's
yeah,
basement, stuff like that, like really idiot Neanderthal stuff. And I'm not saying I was guilty of that, but I think that if there was any doubt in my mind about that, especially so many years later when I decided to make the jump, things like that, it was like a legitimate journalism operation. Like I'm not saying
uh,
I had standards,
slow
whatever that had
down.
to
You
be
don't have to be
impressed,
that
but
nice. Let's not go and say legitimate journalism.
I said
I don't know
like.
if I was doing that,
I
but
said it was like legitimate journalism, but I just remember little things like
legitimate
that that kind of added
journalism
up.
adjacent, if you will.
Okay,
Okay.
which what we are now, which
Yeah,
is
there you
fine.
go.
Yeah, so there we
Uh,
go.
well, that was a fun one to end on. Again, we got a couple 3 minute videos coming up, a couple more good questions that just fit in well with the 3 minute video format. And then the others I'll answer in written form, usually going up Wednesday morning. Just that way I can maybe get some more answers from a Rich Rodriguez press conference.
Um, email Chris. Women's basketball interviews coming up, which means not far from men's basketball interviews coming up.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the questions was when does men's basketball? I think it was the first question in the mailbag thread was when does men's basketball start?
I think they can start practicing like in 2 weeks.
Less than that, right? When's the
When's their first game?
um
This is like the fourth or fifth.
let's
Yeah, I mean it's
see.
gonna be here
Yeah,
soon for
November
sure.
4th. So yeah, you're right. About a little less than 2 weeks, they can start practice.
Holy cow! All right. Well, looking forward to seeing Ross Hodge. I don't have to go to Indianapolis to meet him this time. I can just go across town. That'll be
There you
fun.
go.
Lots going on. Rich Rodriguez and the hard questions at the news conference tomorrow, and then our regular run of the mill journalism adjacent content coming up this week. Until next time, I'm Mike Kazaza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We'll talk to you then.